All right, so here's the results of when I took the test. Now, one thing I noticed is that there was a typo in my Word document. There 50 it said something about 50 something topics. I'm going to correct it and reload it, so you might have that 50 topics. By the time you download it, it might have been revised to 40 topics. But anyway, so it says I've mastered 34 of the 40 topics. Now, even if you totally ace that pre-assessment, it will not give you a full pie. Like this 85%, I don't expect many of you to hit that, all right, if anybody. So basically, it tends to, even if you score perfectly, give you some room to expand, excuse me, to expand your knowledge. So now this is what loads up after I answer the last question immediately. Now you just hit continue. This will start to launch you into part two. Um, and what you need to do is just start mastering the pie. So you click on a section of the pie that you're not completed, and it looks like this one needs the most work at this point, merchandising accounting. I've mastered two topics. I've learned zero, and I have two remaining. So if I need to go into that, then that's what I would start to work through, right? And then so on and so forth, different pieces of this pie. So let's just start my path. And it's going to start giving me questions, right? So just go through. This is the learning portion. It gives you a question, identify the financial statements in which each of the following may be found. Expenses, not on the balance sheet, they're closed retained earnings before, putting anything on the balance sheet. So they're not there. They are on the income statement. And then, it's just in all this, just give me these little bumps. Okay, this is where you can practice. And then, start working on this topic. Sorry. My gosh, there's so much tutorial in here. If you need it, go for it. All right, so it gave me a little bit trickier of a version of this, apparently. That was the lesson. Now I'm like, okay, let me try this. Identify the financial statement, what a business owes. Okay, what they owe is an obligation, which is a liability, so that's balance sheet. Expenses, we talked about that. They're not on the balance sheet, they're on the income statement. Statement of changes in retained earnings. Now, they do affect retained earnings, but typically we reflect that change as net income, not expenses. Dividends, not on the balance sheet. Those are closed into retained earnings. They're not on the income statement. They aren't an income statement item. They're closed directly to retained earnings, so they affect the changes in retained earnings. So let's see how I did. And it says I got those correct. All right. Notice up at the top, it gave me a little status bar, one of three. All right. Wants me to do another. Do another. Right? Revenues, same idea as expenses, closed into retained earnings, so not on the balance sheet as revenues. They are on the income statement. They are reflected as an increase in retained earnings, but again, they're not called revenues on the statement of retained earnings. They are just part of net income. After considering what a business owns and owes, what is left over? So what a business owns are its assets, what it owes are its liabilities. What's left over after I take care of all the things I owe, assets minus liabilities is equity. Equity is on the balance sheet. It's not going to be fully represented by retained earnings. Retained earnings is just a portion of equity, so it's not there. And the income statement, equity is affected by net income, but the total equity is not on the income statement. So just the balance sheet. Dividends, not on the balance sheet, not on the income statement. They are in statement of changes in retained earnings. Okay, got that correct. And whoa, got two in a row. Gives me double credit, three of three. So now, see, wow, it's so affirming. Keep it up, right? Go on to the next one. I completed a pie slice. So if I go back to my homepage now, if we look at the pie, this yellow one, see all these have just the primary darker color. Now the yellow one has this darker yellow and then a little bit of a lighter yellow. That's a knowledge piece that I've learned in in this part of the project, right? This darker portion is what I got from my initial assessment. And then, so hey, just keep moving after that. It'll take me into another one. If I want to adjust my topics, I can hit this arrow, bring the tab down, look at different things that I could learn if I don't like what it's giving me, or I can just go with what it's giving me. You're going to keep doing this. Now, working through and just keep going down the path of completing the pie. Now, what I really want to emphasize is as you're working these questions, there is a trigger in the program every certain number of questions or certain amount of time spent in ALEKS. It'll give you a little assessment quiz. It'll give you like 5 questions over the things you've been doing recently. Take this so seriously, all right? Because if you answer this correctly, you could get even more pieces added to your pie. If you answer them incorrectly, it will start taking away some things that you might have learned, right? Because if you're answering these things incorrectly, maybe you learned it for a second, but it didn't stick in here. So it's going to force you to repeat that if you mess it up. So when you get these intermittent tests, take them seriously, or it'll reset some of your pie. All right. You're going to work through all of those pie pieces. Once you do, it will automatically start what's called the course completion knowledge check. That's your grade for part two. You will take it, you'll get a score, right? Let's say you scored 80% on that check. All right. That's your starting spot. You have 80%, but not the remaining 20. So immediately it'll take your pie from complete down to 80%. Now here's where it's up to you. You can recomplete the pie, work back through learning those 20% that you didn't get credit for, and I'll give you half of that credit on your final grade. That's one option. So you could go from 80%, well, you then have 20. If you work through that 20%, then I'll give you half credit. You got an overall 90%, right? Or you could just take the 80 and not worry about it anymore. Okay. I obviously recommend the first path. Try to get half credit for the stuff you don't get on the course completion knowledge check. Because again, remember, this isn't everything you do in this class is about trying to learn and build so that when you come to the exams, they're not as big of an issue for you. Okay? If you got any questions for me, please let me know. Otherwise, best of luck, and I hope ALEKS doesn't hold you for too long. All right. Do remember, it takes most students at least 10 hours to complete the entire thing, knowledge checks included. It can take up to 30 hours if you are getting items wrong and not able to learn through the pie. All right, so budget some time. Don't wait till the night before. It can be pretty grueling. Right? That's all I got for you. Hope it's not too bad.